Hey everyone, Luxinda Swirl here. So, I was watching a video of Steve McDonald's last night. I will link to his channel below because he's amazing, resin artist. And I found out that he was going to be doing the same thing I'm going to be doing, which is basically taking a resin dragon and putting it on a box. So I thought I'd do mine too. But I'm guessing his will be much more informative and probably more interesting. Who knows? I'm going to watch it definitely when it comes out. In the meantime, I'm going to make mine. And the premise is very simple. I already explained it, basically. So I have these old boxes that I find at flea markets. I've already taped this one off because I only want to paint over the top. The top is in pretty bad shape. The varnish is all crackled and there have been some significant scratches and dents to it. So I'm going to sand it down just a little bit and then I'm going to paint over it. And then I'm going to put my dragon on it with some glue. This is metallic cobalt blue, and that might match. It looks like it, from what I can see right here, the blue I used at least in the wings here. That would be fine. I can add some gold in as well, but the idea is I'm going to paint over the top because it's a mess. The rest of the box is actually pretty nice looking. The inside will need to be painted. The bottom is not great, but you know, that's already the bottom, so I'm not going to worry about that either. They've even put some nice felt pads on it for me, so I don't have to do that. And you know, I may get a little more creative than that, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to start with the sanding and then the painting and then the gluing of the dragon, and then we'll see where we are and take it from there. So stay tuned. Okay, we're back. I took it out on the porch and sanded it with some rough sandpaper and then some fine sandpaper. I washed all that off and let it dry, and this is where we are. Looks much better already. So yeah, I'm just going to take a foam brush and paint this blue metallic cobalt blue, metallic cobalt blue. And you know, if I don't like it, I can take it off, right? This is not a big deal. Okay, stay tuned. Alrighty, well the first layer has dried. It looks pretty good, except I can see some of the sanding marks through it. So I'm going to put another layer on. But in general, I think this is going to look very nice, especially if I add some gilding somehow around it. And then the whole thing will be varnished. I don't think I'm going to go so far as to put resin all over it, but I think I am going to spray varnish it, certainly, and give the whole thing a glossy look when we're finished. But for now, let's put on some more paint. Making a real mess of the tube here. There we go. All right. Now we'll come back and go on to the next step. Here we are with our box. I have, in the meantime, I have poured some resin embellishments. I have a new mold. I have a number of new molds from Zuri and a couple from Amazon. So I have these pretty windows and also a couple sort of filigree things. I think they're meant for fondant, so you can put these on a, I don't know, wedding cake or something. Obviously not with resin, but they're silicone molds, so they can still be used with resin. So this is how I want to lay it out. I've been debating whether I want to use some of this luster polish. It's the only gold I have. I want to put some sort of texture on the wood. I am going to, one piece at a time, glue everything on. Whoops, I'm leaking. I have this E6000 clear glue that apparently sticks to everything and sticks everything to everything. And I'm going to use that to put these pieces on. And then once that's dry, I will get a few different tools and try and add some of this luster paste around the dragon and around the windows and filigrees and things to make everything blend in a little better. Right now it just looks like these pieces are sitting on top of a box because that's exactly what's happening. Get my ridiculously thin gloves back on. Okay, now one piece at a time. I had to make doubly sure that this is the latch, because for a while I was trying these pieces out and I realized I had everything facing the other way. And if I had glued it all down then, this whole box lid would be completely backwards, and I would be really mad at myself if it would be very me to do that, but not make me very happy. So, I have it double checked and turned around. So the first thing I'm going to put down is the dragon. Okay, we are now going to let this dry, and I'll bring you back when it's time to try and do more embellishing. Stay tuned. We're back. Okay, so off camera, I decided to go ahead and just try out a couple things. I tried out my new, I tested these in a different video. I'll link to that below if you haven't seen that and you're curious. Icing paste. So it's a shiny, texturable paste. You put it on and it dries with texture, if you give it texture. So I dabbed it on here, and then I tried some of my Nouveau Crackle Mousse down here, and I put it on relatively thinly. I used a sponge to just swipe it across, and when I came in the next day again, I thought I hadn't gotten any crackle. So very fine crackles just along the edge. And I thought, well, okay, that looks kind of neat, but at the same time, if I make a point of gilding it afterwards so that it's all kind of gold and burnished looking, that's just going to disappear. So I either need to lay that on really thick to get bigger crackle, or I'm just not going to do the crackle thing at all, and I'm going to go back to the icing paste because I kind of like how this turned out. Whoop! I was able, and I'll see if I can get this to focus. Okay, I was able to kind of cover up a little bit of the edge here. If you look at this one over here, even though I kept pushing this down as it was still bendy, it just kept popping up. So overnight as it dried and the glue dried that I used to attach it to the box, the windows bent back up at the edge. So I have to say, I'm not discouraged enough to abandon this project yet. I really want to see it through. And I got stuck for a few days. I've been stuck a lot with this project, honestly. I thought the right thing to do was to attach all of this stuff while it was flat, the wood was flat and painted, and then build up the texture or anything else I wanted to do around it. But now I'm realizing that that was probably not the way to go. I should have done all the textury stuff first, then glued these on. And, well, I don't know. It's too late now. I also, next time I do these, the windows or any other flat sheet of embellishments, I should have weighted it down, all the pieces down, for a full 24-hour cure time, but I didn't. And as a result, they bent up as they dried. Okay, so here's where we are. I do want to keep going. I'm going to keep working with the icing paste. What I decided to do with the icing paste is I took this is cut off from sponge brush. And I just sort of dip it in here and then start dabbing and working it around. And that's what I'm gonna do. And my head, I'm gonna try and keep my head out of the way. Now I really am going to stop. We really are going to let this dry. And we'll come back and take a look. Stay tuned. And we're back. All right, I'm liking how this is looking. I really wasn't sure. Obviously I have that light blue crackle paste underneath this layer of the icing, the green icing. So this area still looks different than these areas where there is the turquoise paint that I originally painted the entire top with underneath the green icing. But I'm hoping if I just keep adding to it, eventually things will all kind of even out. I have this stuff. This is the Cosmic Shimmer Luster Polish. These are the really, really stinky jelly things from the video that I will link to below, where I started working with some of these materials when I first got them. This seems to go on with a damp sponge, at least that's what the directions indicate, even though I tested it just by sticking my finger in there and rubbing it on a piece of canvas, but we'll see what this does. I have a little makeup sponge here. I just spritzed it with a little water, and now I'm just going to start dabbing things, because I just want to see if we can kind of goldify everything. Gild would be better. But it's a sparkly, lustery gold. And I would like my gold filigree and my gold. And ultimately, at the very end, the very last thing I do will probably be to go over all of these pieces again with a soft cloth and the gold leaf rub and buff paste. That'll probably be the last thing I do, but in the meantime, I want to see if I can add a little more substance here. Another one of these guys out. This would be my silicone tipped brushes. I should be able to add in some gold here. Okay, now we will let this dry. Now I think at this point I will come back and I will do my final gold rub and buff. We'll buff things out. We'll see how it looks. It won't be the final thing that happens here. It will be the final embellishment I add. I was still thinking about resining. There is something called resin spray, a resin glaze spray, and I've seen a video on it now. I haven't actually seen the product and I haven't actually used it. I do have these two things. I have Minwac Polyacrylic Protective Finish, and I also have polyurethane triple thick. Now this is a matte, so that probably won't give me anything it won't shine. This is a semi-gloss, so this might be good. First we have to let this dry, then we're gonna do the rub and buff, and then we'll try and figure out how we're gonna seal it and finish it off. Stay tuned. And we're back. All right, our gold luster polish from Cosmic Shimmer has dried. It looks gorgeous. Let's see if I can make this. Not sure. I'll try and get it in here. I just think this looks beautiful. I'm not sure if I got what I had in my mind's eye when I started this project, but you know, sparkly. It doesn't have glitter on it exactly, but it is beautifully sparkly. I think it's cool. All right, so the next step, or the final step, hopefully, is to apply the gold rub and buff. And I am going to do that with a cloth. Now, I've done this a little bit already. I did this in another video where I showed, I think I put the rub and buff on those, got it to look much better than it did. So I used it on both. That's why these look gold, because they didn't when they started. I'm going to try and buff using this rub and buff paste on those embellishments and maybe like his outer wings and horns and the gold bits. What's already gold, I may try and make them a little golder. Move on and see what we can do with our other embellishments, including the parts that I've managed to get colored with all the different texture-y things I put on here. I like it. The only thing I considered adding at this point is some sort of raised border, but I don't know, I kind of like it like this. I think it's fine. Maybe on the next one I'll try a raised border somehow, because I'm not exactly sure how I would do that. The only thing left really then is to varnish it somehow. And I am thinking polyacrylic brushed on might be the way to go here. All right. Here we go. Now before this dries, I will probably take the tape off that I've got around here that I was using to keep the rest of the box from getting, you know, painted or embellished. All right, stay tuned one more time. And we're back. All right, our box is dried, the varnish is dried. I wanted to touch on a couple things I did wrong in the last segment that you just watched. I really screwed up with applying the varnish. It even says on the can, and I did read the directions, not to overbrush, and that's exactly what I did because I took a whole big paintbrush full of varnish and I blopped this puddle right there on that upper corner. And then I was forced to basically way overbrush all the other sections trying to smooth the varnish out into all areas. Big mistake. What I discovered when I went to clean my brush afterwards was that a lot of the gold, so a lot of the luster polish and probably the rub and buff as well, was in my brush and not here on the box where I wanted it. And that was my fault. So when varnishing, and maybe everybody already knows this but me, but I just learned, when they say don't overbrush, a good way to do that is not to put a puddle in one area. It's to dip your brush just a little bit and then dab on some varnish and dip and dab and dip and dab If you were doing a flat surface, you would be dipping and brushing, but in this case, you would be dipping and dabbing. You would do it once all over. You wouldn't overbrush any areas and have any puddles to deal with, and it would not put so much of your embellishments into your brush like I did. So yet another lesson learned. But I'm going to call it on this box. We are done with this video. It's already gone on way too long. I appreciate you sticking with me for this. Because I'm recording this final bit right now, I still have to edit this in, and then I'm going to go back and do an entire sweep of the video to date and try and cut out all the places where I probably repeated myself because I forget from day to day what I already said, and so I probably say it a few times. If I can edit some of that stuff out, the repetitiveness, we may get this down to a manageable size, a manageable length. Anyway, I really appreciate your watching this. Like, share, subscribe if you found it of the least little bit of interest. And I'm really excited. I love how this box turned out. I mean, I know I did a whole bunch of things backwards and wrong. I learned a lot, and I still love it. I absolutely love how it looks. I'm not going to do anything to the rest of the box. I think it's fine the way it is. I mean, it shows signs of wear and tear, but it is a vintage flea market find. And I think the top is stunning. I will probably still paint the inside, but that's something I'll do off camera another day. Thank you so much, everybody. Please stay safe. I will see you in the next video.